Hello and welcome to Maximal Fire. I'm Alex.
And I'm Johnny.
And today we're talking about the state of epic scale gaming in 2025. It's our birthday. And yes, we are 4 years old. Maximal Fire has the smell of gunpowder in here now. Maximal Fire is 4 years old. Just want to say thank you very much to everybody for supporting us over the last 4 years. We've come a long way. Done a lot of videos, a lot of events in 4 years. We wouldn't have been able to do any of it without the amazing community that we've had behind us, and in particular the patrons who support us. So how does it feel to be four, Johnny?
Well, we're like a good 14 years away from being able to drink, but it's all right.
Probably a good 14 years away from being able to do this as a full-time job as well, rather than just a hobby. But yes, no, it's been a ride. Obviously, we've been on YouTube now for 3 years, more or less. The podcast that I started with Ben in 2021, actually technically we're about like a week over our birthday since our first episode 0 that we did back then, with Johnny joining us at the beginning. I think it was January 2022.
Yeah. You
joined us. And yeah, I mean, we're still doing it, so we must be enjoying it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I need to point out Johnny's amazing hat. Thank you very much for embarrassing yourself, birthday princess.
Birthday princess of the day, yeah.
I would have had a hat, but we forgot to order them in the Tesco shop. So I had to make do with party poppers and stuff instead. And the room still smells. Hopefully I haven't set fire to something. Big thank you to our latest patrons. Like I said, we can't do this without our patron supporters, so thank you to everybody who chooses to help us out. Big thank you to Glenn N, James Riley and Norseman, who actually joined on a yearly sub. So just a reminder as well that you can choose to do a yearly sub to Patreon, and you save, I think it's about 10% over the course of the year if you choose to do so. So that's amazing. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you continue to enjoy the show. I hope obviously you've joined because you enjoy the show, hopefully, and not just that you feel sorry for us. So, yeah, we're going to talk today about the state of epic scale gaming. We have hit the magic 2,500 subscribers. We've actually gone past that now. We had a chat with people in the community, and the consensus was that you guys want us to do the same format for our loyalist legions, not legios.
Yeah,
wrong game. You want to do the same format as before, just taking the original rules from the book, not the adding on like the formations of legend for Legions Imperialis. So we'll be doing that next, but with the fact that we've had Breachhead recently, it's been our birthday, there's not been a huge amount of time to properly plan to do that now, but we will do that next episode. And now that I've said that, it's coming next episode.
Yeah, there you go.
We have to kind of do it. Yeah, it's locked in. So yeah, instead we thought we would take a look back. We're a little bit late on the kind of the first year of Legions Imperialis. But it's now been about 14 months or so, 14, 15 months of Legions Imperialis. The game has come a long way. And Adeptus Titanicus this year, I believe, enters its 7th year as a game. 7 years, 1 edition, going well.
That's an OAP at Games Workshop.
It really
there aren't many other games that are going for that long.
Yeah.
With 1 edition.
No, because Blood Bowl was 2016, and Blood Bowl is on its like 2nd edition, so to speak, now. I mean, I don't know how many editions of Necromunda you count it, if it's still technically 1, but they've had like multiple expansions since that was re-released.
Yeah,
it must be the oldest game since Living Rulebook era Blood Bowl.
Yeah, right. Like I can't think of a game that's had a longer edition, because obviously stuff like, even Age of Sigmar goes for editions quicker than AT has with their first. So, we're only a few more months away before GW takes them out back and shows them the rabbit.
It's like that meme, isn't it? Where you've got the mum playing in the swimming pool with 40k, let's just say, and you've got like the other specialist games who are kind of like struggling to kind of keep their head above water. And then there's just Adeptus Titanicus, which is sunk as a corpse on the bottom of the. But I feel like I'm doing it a bit of a disservice because
it's kept alive by its community.
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely, and they are still doing releases for it as well. But we will talk about that a little bit later on when we start talking about the games. We're going to treat them one at a time, I think, and then get into our kind of sponsors section towards the end of the show today. So. 4 years of Maximal Fire. We've tried a lot over the last 4 years. Our format has changed. Our logos have changed. When I think about the quality of the gear that we had at the start compared to what we've got now, it's kind of like night and day. But certainly for me, the thing which has kind of kept this going is the community. And one of the highlights of my year has and always been Breachhead. We held our latest, how many Breachheads have we done now? I think that's 20. So 2022, 23, 24, 20. So it's the fourth Breachhead.
Yeah.
And the fifth Bournemouth International Centre major tournament that we've done. We've worked out that there isn't one bigger. So I have claimed the world title tournament's name for Breachhead. Mm-hmm. So from next year, it will be very much considered and quoted as being
the world's biggest.
Yeah, the world GT. Yeah, every year we kind of we get bigger every year, but there was 50 tickets sold this year. Unfortunately, you get a couple of dropouts here and there on the day. I think we ended up with about 46 players turning up at the day, but it's great fun. And we've gone through a couple of, every year we try and do it a little bit different to how we did it before, and we like to try and mix up our event format when it comes to Adeptus Titanicus. So we did just a normal tournament the first year. I think the second year we went to like 1850, I think it was. So we changed the points slightly. And then we did in 2023 our first team tournament, which in my opinion was the best team tournament that we ran, but it was a pain in the arse to run, like having to have a whole team's worth of people on standby, working out the pairings and the matchings. Yeah. We then did another team tournament the year after, but along a more traditional Swiss route. You live and you learn. I don't think that had quite the same vibe as the year before. If we went back to tournaments, team tournaments, I think we would try and do it the same as the first team tournament.
Yeah.
And this year we went back to. Sorry,
they're always good. They're always good fun. The team tournaments I think bring kind of a special vibe with people dressing up in their team outfits and having team names and stuff like that.
For sure, I think there's something about actually placing together as a team and on the same, next to each other on tables as a team. That just worked a bit better, I think, the first time we did that compared to the last time that we did that. But we like to experiment.
Yeah.
And then this year we did our biggest ever points-wise tournament, which was, we decided to do 1950 points to be awkward because everybody does 2K. So we were like, I'm going to make you think about your lists. So we're not going to do 2K. We're going to do 1950. That was quite well received.
I'm surprised how difficult losing that 50 points is when you're used to building lists a certain way. Suddenly it's, I'm not bringing 2 Cerastus Knights now because, my Warlord's going to lose tracking gyros or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I guess, with most 2K lists, is you end up in a situation where many people take a 1750 list and just add some knights on and make up the extra 250 points, which isn't overly exciting. But we wanted to make people kind of think a bit harder. The other thing that we did this year was like the meta in the UK around Adeptus Titanicus has been similar, I think, ever since the Traitor Legions book came out. It was nice to see a few spider bots this year, so that shook it up a little bit. But the main thing we wanted to change was kind of move away from the meta that had been established, which was quite heavy around. We're seeing a lot of Psi Titans, a lot of what's called dire bombs, which are like highly corrupted direwolves. And so we wanted to kind of take it back a little bit to what it was like playing the game originally. So we did what we call an early war event, where it was no corruptions, no Psi Titans, no vortex missiles, no war masters,
no bullshit,
no bullshit. And yeah, it was great, kind of taking it right back to the basics again. And a lot of people commented about how much they enjoyed it. Warlords very much seemed to be the kind of the thing over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like it was it's such a solid piece to have in the the mission packs where you can safely have like just 1 or 2 in 1950 quite easily with the points that you're allotted, and just have them sitting at the back of the board and blasting. I think they a lot of the more popular mana pools nowadays do have warlords as some form of component in them. So,
and I think people have learned kind of how to really. My blooming tablet is just going off and off and off.
You're playing like Clash of Clans or something while you're recording.
How do I turn this off? Go down. Shush. Down. It's
just put Pong on the screen. Well,
it looks like it's been updating in the background, and now every single.
Have you got active sonar in your room or something?
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
I can see
this. Oh my god! Right.
Okay.
Airplane mode is up.
It's the birthday. No, I can still hear it making noise.
For fuck's sake.
This better stay in.
Right.
We good? I can't hear anything.
Nothing is happening. So, yeah. But I guess the highlight of Breachhead for me, well, there was a lot of highlights through the tournament.
Jesus Christ. Well done. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, the highlight for me was going and getting another painting award at one of my own events. I was very fortunate enough to, I don't know how well that's kind of coming on the screen. I walked away with third place in the vehicle category of the Duncan Rhodes Painting Masters. So, yeah, very proud moments. We had a Titan take that as well, and also there was a Titan which took second place as well. So in a category of vehicles, which could include, there was like a converted Star Wars. The one that won gold was a massive, I don't know what the actual model is from Star Wars, one of the clone dropships.
AAT gunship or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. That it was in with that. It was the same category as people submitting full-scale Titans, full-scale Knights, Dreadnoughts, like there was loads, and 2 of the 3 prizes went to epic scale models, which I thought was great. Maybe Duncan's got a little bit of a soft spot for epic.
I really think he does. He always seemed to enjoy the Titan videos that he did. Peter Martin won the other one, right?
Yes, but we don't talk about that, though, do we?
No, you didn't want to say his name. You didn't
want to be upstage. We'll focus on my awards. We'll focus on my awards.
Yeah, it was quite funny because when your name had been called, I turned around and I saw Johnny Core from the Battle Building store, and I think he more than anyone knows you well, and his face was the face of, oh fuck, here we go. And yes, you did mention it a couple of times over the weekend, but we're all very proud of you. It was a very well deserved win. If you kept going on that you just took it off the shelf. I just, all of my Titans, they're all the same, and I just picked one of them at random.
I wasn't painting to tournament standard. It was just taken out of the box and put on a plinth and then submitted. Anyway, but yes, I went on about it quite a lot that weekend, but most of that was to wind everybody up rather than it being serious. Although I was obviously quite chuffed. It's good for the channel. We talk about. I was wearing a Maximal Fire t-shirt as well when I had my photograph taken with Duncan Rhodes. So, yeah, I was kind of hoping I'd get a copy of that, but it hasn't arrived in the post yet. So,
you're gonna frame it. It's gonna be in the corner of every Maximal Fire video.
It'll just be there, or maybe I'll just conduct the entire podcast as just a framed photo of me and Duncan at the front, and
make the mouth move with post-processing.
Like some of those sort of superimposed videos you see on TikTok with the eyes and the mouth moving. No, but it was great. Like I say, I think that came at a time just before our 4th birthday. Although it's not. It's related, but kind of not related at the same time. It's nice that the hard work that we put in promoting Epic Scale and promoting AT in particular was kind of rewarded with something I can kind of take home for the effort that we put in.
Yeah, I mean, the entire weekend I think was the best Breachhead we've had, right? It was just so easy this time round. Very few people had any issues or anything like that, really. And we had the QR codes for the event pack that people would just scan and get the PDF, all their table numbers. So there was just less stuff going on. And yeah, God, it's just everyone seemed to have a really good time, and everyone stayed till the end for all the awards and stuff like that. So yeah, I think all of that kind of added up together. But well deserved win.
Yeah, it was a great vibe the whole weekend, and I think we'd learnt from previous years, and each year we kind of had something a little bit extra. We also had a load of terrain turn up an hour before I was due to left from the guys at Thunderhead Studio and Gale Force 9, which gave us 2.5 brand new tables worth of terrain that we could use. I did a review on the Legions Imperialis terrain that we received for that, which was dropped a few days ago. So if you want to see what that terrain looks like, you can watch that video. But yeah, it's always a tournament at that event in particular which draws attention. People wander over and gravitate towards AT. Doesn't help that we've kind of got these massive 6 foot wide tables with banners behind us trying to make ourselves out to be bigger deals than we actually are.
If I had a penny for every 40k player that came over to us and was like, "Oh, what's my matchup?" And I was like, "Oh,
where do I sign up?"
Well, I'm playing my Eldar. I'm like, at the end.
yeah, over there, thank you. But the main reason that it draws such attention is everybody's paint jobs. It's there's a very high bar when it comes to painting standards in AT,
and that combined with we can happily say that it's some very damn good scenery that we provide as well. The paint jobs matching with that just creates such a spectacle for people to watch, and you really get people just for ages kind of hovering around the AT tables just watching what's going on, because it is just it's always been a very, very sick game to watch and enjoy visually.
So the state of Adeptus Titanicus, 7 years after it's launched, we've had, at the start, there was multiple kind of companions which were dropped. Books like Titan Death, Doom of Molech, Shadow and Iron, Crucible of Retribution. I've probably forgotten them. Then there was the Loyalist Legios rank. I've got that on my brain. Loyalist Legios, and Traitor Legio's books. Then we had the campaign compendium. Then there was, well, actually before that there was the match play guide.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, there's been a lot of resin models which were brought out, mostly knights, new titans coming out. Things have definitely slowed down over the last year, I think, with Adeptus Titanicus. I think that a lot of the focus has been pulled by Legions Imperialis, which you would kind of expect it to. But there's still investment there by Games Workshop. Like all of the new units, it would be very easy for them to just not give any thought to Adeptus Titanicus with new units like the Dark Mechanicum. But it's still happening, and certainly from the point of view of when you look at events like AT, we're fortunate that Titanicus really is in a state of maturity now. I almost don't want Games Workshop to release anything else for fear that they might mess it up.
Yeah.
But
I
there's
still have
definitely
wounds
stuff
from the new Underworlds release that I'm scared that if they ever touch it, as much as you want something new, and I wouldn't be sad at a new edition, it's just so good. It's just such a good game.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, it needs a 1.5. It doesn't need a second edition. It just needs a tidying up.
Like
and
how
feather duster
Heresy...
here and there.
Huh?
I was just saying a little bit of a feather duster here and there just to sweep the cobwebs off of certain areas.
Yeah. You know how Heresy went from 1.0 to 2.0, where a lot of it stayed the same. There was just a few changes here and there, but nothing too dissimilar to what the original was. So yeah, here's hoping. Yeah,
here's hoping. I mean, I must admit, when it comes to the hobby side of things, I don't paint as much AT as I used to, but then I've got somewhere in the region of 50 Titans, so it's sort of like, do I need to? But I do think it's in a good state at the moment. And then you get events like that we run, which there's so much there that you can change it up a lot. You can change the format. You can put in themed restrictions for the sake of the theme rather than the sake of, I just don't like that rule, which I think is a very easy way of it's very easy to cast judgment like that. You can fix a lot of things by just being selective with how you feel that the game should be played. And yeah, I think that with a little bit of sprucing up by GW, maybe an FAQ, which is long overdue, it's going to go a long way. And
that's the good timeline, right? The FAQ that just sorts a load of stuff out, and doesn't change too much.
I think one of the biggest problems that the game has currently as it stands is the lack of the match play guides. I think that it's almost, I've joked about this before on the forum, it feels like maybe the work experience kid came in and accidentally deleted the folder on the master server that the match play guide was, because it's just disappeared. For a while you could still get them at Forge World, but it's not on the website. You can't get them in any shops. It is a fundamental quality of life release for Adeptus Titanicus, and they haven't thought of re-releasing it. We've seen AT goes in this cycle of being in stock and then being out of stock for 3 months at a time. Often happens around about January, doesn't it? You see a drought usually between sort of January and March most years, where everybody's bought up all of the starter sets because they're still insane value, and they become very hard to get hold of. And people start going, they've discontinued Adeptus Titanicus. I can't get hold of it anywhere. And it's just just wait. And then sure enough, 3 months pass and it's there again. But the match play guide never had a PDF, and it's never been reprinted, and it just feels odd that it might not be high up in the list of priorities to reprint for them in physical copies. Just make the PDF available. unless the work experience kid has deleted it off the hard drive, surely it's a simple thing to do.
I mean, and even if they have, that's not, there's nothing to stop them from trying to find a copy out in the community to be able to recirculate. I've
come this close to just putting it up on our website, but
no,
I don't want to be that guy. But how long do we have to wait? Like, it's severely impacting the tournament scene, which we've demonstrated is still, in the UK at least, thriving. It's still alive and well. People want to do it. They want to play. Every time we send feedback out of these events, would you prefer next year we do Legions Imperialis or split it, AT and Legions Imperialis? Everyone says no. They want to play AT because, in my opinion, it works better as a tournament game than Legions Imperialis does. Mm-hmm. Legions Imperialis is a better narrative game, but for a tournament, AT is much better.
Mm-hmm.
So then, people, we're saying to people, like, this is going to be based on the match play guides, and people can't get hold of it.
Yeah, what are you going to do about that? Because
it's a case of we do open engine war, which we could do open engine war. That's what we did the first 2 years of running Breachhead, but it feels like a step backwards.
Yeah, and can you even get the open engine war cards anymore?
Oh yeah, no, they reprinted those, and they are still they are still available, and they are great. They're a much better way of playing AT than trying to play it out of the rulebook. But the match play guides fixes a lot of things for tournaments. People kind of know how strat hands work now, which was something which was introduced by the match play guide. But if you've not had exposure to the tournament scene and people talking about strat hands, or there's probably people listening now thinking, strat hands, what are you talking about? You just have 5 strategy points, don't you? It's that in particular was one of the best quality of life upgrades to the game, was introducing the strat hand, where you in 1750 you have 5 points to spend, but you have 6 cards that you can choose from. Mm-hmm. So you're not limited to, if you've got a Vox Blackout and trying to think of a 2-point stratagem,
Blind
Great Crusade Titans. Oh, yeah, that's 5 points. In the previous edition, those were your 2 cards, and the moment somebody plays something that can nullify the other, you basically lost. That's why Vox Blackout had such a bad reputation for as long as it did. But now, you have 6 cards, which can be multiple different points, and you can go, okay, well, I've got a contingency if that doesn't work, or in this situation, I can choose to play this one instead, and it's just so much better. And then Games Workshop don't release a PDF, or they don't redo the book. It's just odd.
It is odd. Are they, the optimist in me says, are they gearing up for like a new edition? Why would they reprint the book if
Well, they released Campaign Compendium, right? And at the time, I think people were thinking, oh, I wonder if they'll merge it, because obviously when the Match Play Guide came out, it was just it's like 50 pages or something, just a small little paperback. But then nothing was added, even referencing anything in the Campaign Compendium, which would have been a perfect place to put all of those rules. But what they actually did was just take all of the lore, all of the other rules they'd forgotten about, and all of the narrative missions, and put them in one book. It's the only. They did some fundamental changes to Crusade Legios, and they did a few tweaks to Knights here and there, but it's the only expansion that they did for AT which I didn't particularly like. I thought it was a bit lazy. Even things like they reprinted all of the cards, and everyone like, way, yeah, great, I can get my Loyalist stratagem cards now. and then they're immediately out of date because they haven't updated any of the details on the cards. They just reissued them as they were from 4 years, 3 years before, and points have changed, rules have changed, none of the FAQs. It was just lazy, and that was a shame, and that was a bit of a rubbish moment, I think, in AT. But I think that aside, there's absolutely nothing stopping people from playing it. And what has been good is seeing Legions Imperialis players. Excuse me. I feel like I almost look like I am promoting this bloody water bottle company, like all of the other YouTube wankers out there.
Gamer Sups. Not sponsored.
I've managed to get sunburn in February. Go figure. I don't know. So I'm quite hot, quite bothered. But yeah, a lot of people have started playing Legions Imperialis and started collecting Titans and are now gravitating over, and that's great to see. And it's one of our friends, Nate. He was talking in our local WhatsApp chat, and I was kind of sitting back, almost feeling like a proud parent at the parents' evening. It's like watching him just discovering all of the sort of stuff in AT that he can be doing. And yeah, like kind of reflecting and remembering like when I was kind of going through that sort of wow phase of Titans. But
the life before Vox Blackout and
an innocent time.
An innocent time.
Yes. What's that quote from Star Wars? Let's not try and whatever.
Yeah.
It was before the Empire. Anyway. But yeah, I think that leads us kind of quite nicely on, really, doesn't it? To Legions Imperialis. Like, the game itself was a rough start. I think everybody would agree. We did an episode about 8 months ago, which was like the first 6 months of Legions Imperialis, where we talked quite frankly about the state of the game. And there was a lot of problems.
Got a GW sponsorship
on the blacklist.
Yeah,
from that point on. But I mean, that's one of the benefits of not having any affiliation with GW, right?
True.
It means we can talk a bit more freely about this sort of stuff without fear of reprisals because we've given up.
Wow.
We're old and we're jaded and we've given up.
That sunburn's really got your curmudgeon crawling out of.
Yes. Bitter and twisted. More machine now than that. Anyway. Yeah, so, there was problems with release. It coincided badly with the warehouse migration that they had in the UK, and
God,
it took forever just to get like the first stuff out. And then very quickly they released Great Slaughter before even other things which we were waiting from in the first wave had even been released. But it's calmed down a bit now. I think that's fair to say. And things are stabilized a bit. And the game is finding its feet. I think I said at the time, like, I remember back in the days of when the Grandmaster Box for AT was released, and in particular the ways of playing games, like the missions in the AT main book. AT wasn't a great game. And not in the first even 18 months, 2 years of it being released, but it was fixed. It got sorted, and like I think people forget that, and they were very quick to kind of judge Legions Imperialis, and it's been quite gratifying to see and start to kind of understand the direction that Games Workshop are trying to take it with regards to the levels of additional granularity and detail that they want to take it with, things like the formations of legend that they've started introducing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they've had the kind of the biggest surprise release in GW's kind of recent history with their Dark Max Spider bots. I know I always go on about them. But I think that's like a good sign that they're willing to kind of push the boundaries with the system, and throw something in that, isn't just Space Marine Steve and his 20 battle brothers walking up the board. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was very critical of the game when it first released. I remember after playing my first game of it, feeling kind of like, oh god, like, is this it? Is this the future? Are we going to potentially lose Titanicus to this or whatever? But actually, as you begin to understand the game a little bit more, because it's an odd game. It is strange rules wise. It kind of takes and cherry picks from multiple Games Workshop systems, and it has spat out this kind of very odd rule set. But it does work. There are, we speak about it a lot. There are improvements that could be made, but it's had time, like you said, it's had time to settle. The community seems to be running with it a lot more as well now. People seem a lot more active, at least in our local community, for organizing Legions games, which is good. It's a really good sign when people are playing it, quite frequently locally. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think for the first time you've got Heresy players who are kind of looking at Legions Imperialis with like envious eyes, really. Yeah, I mean, I remember when the Mechanicum stuff dropped in the autumn last year, and there was things on there which the Mechanicum players in Heresy didn't have. Things like, is it the Ursarax? And now they've just released them for Heresy.
Yeah.
And I bet there's quite a few Heresy players out there who are looking at the Dark Mech Spider Bots and wondering the same.
Imagine if we get a 28 mil release of those, I would lose my shit. That would be insane. Yeah,
I mean, they can't be that much bigger than Knights, right? They're about the same size.
No, it'll be like it would be a Knight size. I just think the base, it's like if anyone's ever had to deal with a Hierophant, which is a big 4-legged Tyranid creature, right? How do you do a base for something with that big of an area around it? Basically, do you just let them sit on the table and then you measure around its legs, or do you have a big ass base that's gonna,
I mean, tanks don't have a base. I know they've got a very obvious footprint, but do you say that basically
draw
the footprint
lines between each leg, and then you're going to get people positioning their legs so they've got like the most narrow, yeah, right? There's, and there's going to be people that do that, so they can't really. Maybe they can.
I reckon. I mean, like you've got those big round bases for things like the Monolith, right?
Yeah. I reckon you could fit maybe the smaller engines on that.
Yeah. I think even maybe even the bigger ones. Like, I mean, that Monolith like one is huge. It's a big old dinner plate of a.
I guess if it's kind of like a super heavy, yeah, maybe. God, it'd be so cool, wouldn't it? I mean, I'd be happy just to see those Harperax Swarmers in 28 mil.
Yeah. I think they will definitely come. Right, there's almost no reason to not do those because they're much easier to get out.
There'll be some cool models as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the game and the game's scale, I think, sell it really well as a game. I can, the biggest kind of not biggest criticism, but just like a thing I think that a lot of players, casual or narrative players come to is they read, Heresy books, they read 40k books, and they're like, the tabletop doesn't quite encapsulate the scale of carnage that the actual war in these settings is. And, epic scale systems as a whole, like, including stuff like Battlefleet Gothic, Old Epic, Legions Imperialis, Titanicus, they allow you to live out, these kind of mass scale combats that the setting is like, all of the settings are very well known for as kind of their core principles.
Yeah, I mean the 28 mil games like 40k, and to a lesser extent because you often play larger games of Heresy, Horus Heresy. you often find yourself with like critical named characters all in this one kind of, which would be a relatively small microcosm of a board. These people would be probably miles apart from one another, and those games I don't think quite sell, like you say, the sort of the scale of these things as they should be. It's like almost like, this is probably going to catch so much hate for this. It's just a step up from Kill Team, really, isn't it? I mean, it's a skirmish game. Like, it always was a skirmish game designed to be kind of firefight levels of battle. Like the short scale firefighting between like squads, rather than kind of like the grand strategy, which really was how they sold Legions Imperialis, was this combined arms grand strategy, bringing in planes, bringing in titans, bringing in vehicles, bringing in knights, bringing in men.
Which is sick.
And yeah, it is. I was having a really interesting conversation actually with, there's a guy that I work with, and he's a massive 40k player. He plays at Breachhead every year. He's pretty good as well. He's always done well at those events. And we were kind of reminiscing about the old Apocalypse scale games. And he was telling me, because I didn't see the last, it was in my hobby kind of fog of war time, where like I was out of the hobby for a few years, and the last proper edition of Apocalypse came out, and he was saying how good it was, and we were having this really good discussion about how maybe that rule set was released 10 years too late for 40k, and that 40k sort of towards the 6th edition was more of a social game, get together. I remember we got 12 foot of boards in my mate's living room, and we would play massive games of Apocalypse where one game would take you a weekend to complete.
You stay around, you have the pizza, you have the beers, you watch movies, and you like play a game incrementally over a weekend. And that rule set doesn't, that is not a viable product, right? Like, you can't sell people a game that takes, over a weekend. And this is why we've had this like kind of like scaling down, I guess, of most games.
That concept, and I'm going to sound like an old man sitting on his porch at this point. But that concept, I think, is an older wargamer mentality. Some of the best games I've played have been those games which I have taken a weekend to play. Mm-hmm. Some of these mega games where the only reason everybody is there is to play that one game and to enjoy the spectacle of it. Whereas at latter years, 40k in particular has moved to a point where it is a tournament game. It's a game designed to be played in 2.5 hours, and I don't think the patience is there now for Apocalypse like it was before, and that's probably why it failed. But like he was telling me about how Apocalypse worked, alternate actions, casualties coming off at the end of the round rather than kind of as they happen. And he was saying like he doesn't understand why like the Titan Owners Club people, he was like, it looks great, but it's like, I thought Legions Imperialis had a way of playing with lots of Titans instead of playing AT. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, they could do it as Titan Death. I'm sure it would be a lot quicker, but then the reason that they're there is to be there for a full weekend and take their time over it.
Yeah.
So they want to be playing big AT because they want to be taking their time, having the terminals, and it not be quite so much of a meat grinder. But it's
immersive, right?
Yeah,
you're able to absorb yourself into the setting because you're not like, shit, right, let's get this special rule up really, really quickly because I've got like 4 turns before I get tabled. But
what is stopping people going, you know what? Let's do the same with Legions Imperialis rules, and let's get Apocalypse scale games and get some of those, like you see them for Age of Sigmar, where you they're almost like the templates that you just sit your models in, and then you move one and you move all. I think they were released actually originally for Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And take your 40k models, take your Heresy models, and play big scale Legions Imperialis.
That would be sick. You could put them on just round, like, bases scaled up to the size of what they would be. Like movement trays, almost like round movement trays that you just slot them at the models in,
but if you've got those little things, you wouldn't even need that. You just grab, put two of those together. Oh no, there's 5 on a base, isn't there? So each one of those would be a base, and you just move them kind of as they are. And although we're used to kind of playing, our games within the confines of the games that they are, I think Legions Imperialis is something that you could do that with. You could take, if you want to really sort of ramp up Horus Heresy and take it to massive size, but it still be quick. It still be you be able to play those kind of massive games in a short period, 2.5 hours. Could you do that with Legions Imperialis rules?
I mean,
I think you
absolutely could, but I feel like it would feel so much worse when like a unit of 5 Terminators gets man tackled by like an assault squad. It looks okay at like fucking 6mm scale because you can't bloody see the models that are dying, but at 28mm and you're watching these like filigreed Emperor children bloody Terminators getting hatcheted to death by
that
jump marines or bayonet charged by infantry from Solar Ox.
I remember painting up my Legions Imperialis models, and they looking at them after they were done and gone, brilliant. I've done 3 boxes worth of infantry, and then adding it up and realizing that it came to less than 200 points. Imagine that pain, but that's like probably the equivalent of like 2 infantry armies.
You would be shoveling 28mm models off the board as well with the rate that minis die.
You need one of those things that I have in strategy places that on the end of a stick to just pull all of your dead models back off the table and then just scoop them into a bucket.
Yeah, maybe not then.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept. I mean, I don't have the models to do that with, but maybe people should explore large scale Titan Death, large scale Legions Imperialis with 28mm.
But then we also have got to accept that it's not as good of a competitive game.
Which is perfect if you are not looking to play it as a tournament game.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. But there will be situations where you feel like it narratively doesn't match up,
Perhaps. Yeah. Perhaps. But they what is it now? 14 months, 15 months has gone by with Legions Imperialis. They've had 3 expansions since then. What was that? The Great Slaughter, Devastation of Talon, and oh my god, I can't remember what the latest one's called. The Mars one, Rise of the Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah.
In my head, I'd always constantly referred to it as the Schism of Mars, but it's not. But it is, but it's not called that. And they still haven't really even touched the surface of some of the stuff that's available and some of the rules that are available. We're in March now in the sort of release catalog. We've seen nothing this year so far because Dark Knight was just before Christmas, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we'll see a book, a new expansion soon because everything else has kind of gone, and it's gone a little bit quiet recently. There's been a bit more Horus Heresy released, but there's more to come, I think. And with the surprise that was the Dark Mechanicum, interesting to see what will kind of be next. I feel like, I know we've talked about this in the past, demons seem to be something which I feel like if you're talking, like when this game was dropped, it was the Siege of Mars, right? Siege of Terror. It was the Siege of Terror. Imperial Fists versus Sons of Horus. It's basically the Siege of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's missing from that setting is very much demons.
The demon bullshit.
Demons and Primarchs, obviously, but I would demons, Primarchs, Custodes, Sisters of Silence, and then I think you're pretty much there, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think there's.
Well, we already have Custodes models. If you think about it, they just don't release them. They don't have them at the moment. They had the flyers for Aeronautica.
True. Man, if they don't do one Custodia base, I will be so mad. If it's like 5 fucking Custodies crammed on one of those little bases, I'll be so cross.
Yeah, it will just be, that is Jeff over here on his one base.
Watch them
Tony
get bayonet charged by 3 Solar Auxilia infantry bases.
Yeah. Oops, I've rolled a double 1 on my Custodes, and somehow, he's just been impaled by that 1 unit of Solar Auxilia. So long, Jeff. And the way the rules went, like the introduction of the formations of Legend was the pivotal point for me, and the way that I kind of started looking at it and thinking, oh, like that's good, that's interesting, like that is how you make your legions unique. Because I was a bit worried the way that the rules presented in the rule books for each of the legion's abilities, disparate from OP to awful, and seemingly no kind of justification for each. Why you would ever go all Space Wolf, for instance, at the moment. I mean, the Space Wolf ability is great, but it's an add-on detachment to give your army a special ability. It's not something that you can really get much out of being your primary army formation. But maybe they'll release some kind of Space Wolf assault formation or something in the future which will completely flip that on its head.
I mean, formations of Legend are oh shit, we've got mana pools moment, right? Like, finally there is not just the equivalent of 2 warlords hitting their heads together until one dies. We've got some some ways to add a bit of flavor to our our epic armies, our Legion's armies.
For sure. I mean, would I ever have considered doing Iron Hands? No. However,
that's a lot of tanks.
Yeah, they released that formation of Legend, and I'm like, that's awesome. And I know at the time, obviously, like the choice, it was thin pickings when it came to formations of Legend. I think at the time there was only 2 for Loyalists and 2 for the Traitors, and they've added more on since then, obviously. But yeah, it was like, oh well, I'm definitely going to have them in my army. Oh crap, I've just gone out and I bought 3 more boxes of tanks, which are now painted in completely the different color to the rest of my army. Well done, great marketing, Games Workshop. But yeah, it's if that is the way that it takes it, obviously they've got a long way still to go with filling out, or even just having 1 for every legion. I feel like Thousand Suns were done the dirty a little bit with their special rule as well. Like, are we going to get some proper psychers, like a proper psyker formation, which is going to do psyker bullshit and it just be crazy and fun? I hope so. Yeah, it's like that is what is sort of just absent, I guess, at the moment. But when it comes to being like seeing the future of LI, it's gratifying knowing that the game is moving in a direction that is positive, and the attitudes of people playing it are changing quite substantially. Because I think a lot of people I expected Legions Imperialis to be as good as Adeptus Titanicus when I started playing it. And it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. And arguably, it probably, and again, I'll probably upset a lot of people, at the moment, it still isn't. But 7 years Adeptus Titanicus has had to find its feet, to get the balance that it's got now, to get the rule set tweaked and tightened up in places to be the game it is today. Ally's been out for 14 months. It's still very, very early days. And as we were saying at the beginning as well, like, I think it's one of the best narrative games that GW does. If you want to experience proper warfare on this, proper combined arms on the scale that it allows, flyers, titans, tanks, infantry, it just looks great. And although there's some of the rules are still a little bit janky, I know that the Space Marine 2nd edition Epic fans love their CAF, and it's a thing. I'm not that much of a fan of the kind of potential for randomness that comes from that, but it's a simple rule. It keeps the game moving, it keeps it going forwards, it keeps the pace of the game never stops, and it does. To get through that much, although, like you say, it's disheartening just sweeping a load of models off of the table and into your bucket because they've just died in a, that building's collapsed on top of them, so that's all 8 stands of them now dead. It is still, it's very, very good for narrative, and we've had a lot of fun running narrative events for it. Yeah. Talking of which, you owe the next part in the Corsair Gambit, Johnny, which is
the next and final part of the Corsair Gambit
of the first trilogy. What's going to happen is that we're going to go back and we're going to retcon this. This is going to be the Corsair Gambit episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to go back in time in the future, I think, and we're going to find out how the Corsair Worlds and Legio Maximal were actually formed. That's how it's going to work, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
24th of May, mate. 24th of May.
Oh,
that is, of course,
yeah.
He checks and goes, shit, I just booked a holiday.
I just I did get my calendar off my phone. I was like, I'm definitely free on the 24th of May. Yeah. Hell yeah. No, it's going to be good in all seriousness. And, we've had the rise of the Dark Mechanicum between last narrative event and this narrative event. So guess what the theme's going to be?
I think we joked about this last time, didn't we? It was like, yay, they've given me a plot.
Yeah, this is it. Perfect. Just the recycle bin's full of just like plot ideas on fucking Notepad or something. Yeah.
So, in short, Johnny, how would you sum up the state of epic scale gaming at the moment?
Epic scale gaming, I think the state is good. I think we are in a good state. There has been a renewed interest in epic scale as a whole with the release of Legions Imperialis. Everyone that looks at Imperialis can, even with some questionable minis at a distance with a full board, people look at that game and they go, God damn, that looks fun as hell. That looks so cool. Exactly how I imagine it to be. And it's brought a lot of attention. We could do with updates to both games, to LI and to AT.
We still haven't had an FAQ, have we, for Legions Imperialis? That's not a proper one anyway. I know that they released like 2 changes or something, but I think we could do with a proper FAQ. There's enough in there now, I think, that some things need.
That's what is it with you this evening?
I don't know. I'm fiddling
with my shit everywhere.
It's my
very smooth.
I've lost my wedding ring. It's down there somewhere. The wife's away this weekend, so I've got until tomorrow night to find it. It's fine.
So yeah. Anyway,
the
state is good. It is good. I just want to see a good FAQ, potentially for both. We're overdue something for Titanicus that is not just a something from LI that has been graciously given AT rules. Like something specifically for AT that could go to LI. But yeah, it's still good. The community keeps it alive really, really well. There's still loads of interest, and yeah, I'm excited to see what this year brings.
And what you say about the community there as well, like there is a real passionate part of the community which like is also creating content, is providing alternative terrain options, is providing customizational options. And this is almost as if I planned this segue into some of those community champions, let's just say, who are the form of our sponsors of Maximal Fire.
Also pay us money to say this.
But it's true though, right? Like, there's plenty out there. There's some real kind of centers of the community who are constantly keeping things fresh. I mean, like, Titans are there to be customized. They were all to some extent unique, retrofitted of different patterns, and people want to reflect that. And it's great seeing so many, not just Battlebling, who are one of our main sponsors, but like there's other companies out there as well, and there's so much on Cults 3D of people kind of wanting to do customization for Titans. There's loads of options for terrain. Again, like, well, three of our sponsors, Troublemaker Games, Rock Mini, Grimdark Terrain, they all specialize in 8mm terrain, and it just keeps everything fresh. Like, and that these people do this sort of stuff because they're passionate about it, and because that they love playing the game like this. And I think certainly for the Adeptus Titanicus side, it's been that side in particular which has really kind of kept the game alive during some of the droughts that have been going on with GW. And if they ever stopped doing AT for whatever reason, say they cancelled it tomorrow, I guarantee you it would end up going the way that Blood Bowl did for 15 years or however
Overnight,
long it was.
It was, yeah, for sure.
It would just keep going. Like, I don't foresee that I would see any form of drop off in the number of people wanting tickets to tournaments or anything. I think there's still very much the passion behind it. We're very fortunate in the UK, especially in the south of England, that we have a lot of people in and around this area which are very active with AT. It's a bit quieter in the north of England, and I understand that it's quite a problem in America that there's, again, really kind of passionate groups, but they end up having to travel hours to go to some of these key events. Like there's Killian's Gothamos events that he runs, his narrative AT events that he runs a number of times throughout the year. I can't recall exactly where it is that he does it, but people fly in from across the country because they want to take part in something like that. And he does a great job as well of kind of really selling it as like something people want to be part of. And like, it's, I think because of this, just it comes down to the UK is a lot of people in quite a small space, and places like the US, vast distances between players, and it's going to be a little bit harder. Plus, we live in the UK where Games Workshop is based, so supply is a little bit easier for us. But I count ourselves very fortunate, especially in our area, that we have a real plethora of opportunities to play the games that we want to, and to particularly for us to make content. You're planning a little trip, aren't you?
I might be planning a little trip to go see Chris at Tabletop Standard and potentially get a LI battle report in with the spider bots. That may or may not be happening in a relatively short amount of time. So
don't let me down, Johnny. We're 2-0 with Tabletop Standard. Can't have you losing it.
We are going to need a Rocky montage between now and when I go. Just like back to back LI games. I want you know the movie Whiplash. I want you throwing fucking drumsticks at me and screaming at me when I'll
get you chasing chickens.
I get wrong.
Yeah. Lifting logs.
Yeah. Exactly. We're going to have to train me to be a monster, which might be significantly more difficult considering I have committed to bringing an entirely Spiderbot list. So very excited.
Do you know what he's planning on bringing himself, or has he spoken about that?
He has. He is bringing some Solar Auxilia, so that will be quite fun. We'll get some War of the World vibes with baseline humans trying to fend off the spider bots. He has graciously said that he won't bring any flyers because obviously I have no access to both flyers or anti-air. So,
well, assuming that you're going all the way down purely dark mech.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going full spider bot because that's the meme, isn't it? So no, it's going to be very good though. I'm looking forward to it. I just don't want to eat shit on camera again. Once is enough for me, thank you.
Another bottle of wine moment.
Yeah. I don't want to get Vox blackouted twice in a row. So yeah, I'm very excited.
At least there won't be any risk of that happening in LI.
Well, yeah, one would hope. But who knows?
Okay. So, as we've been talking about community, let's move on now and just have a quick look at some of the updates from our sponsors. So first up, Battle Bling. The main news for those is they are releasing 4 new Reaver heads from Sandor. So we talked about some of the Reaver heads before. There was 4 of them back then. There's 4 more, so that's going to take up to 8 new Reaver heads. Reaver heads have always been something which we've not seen that many of. So it's nice to see a few additional kind of styles. Like Warlords get a lot of love. Hounds seem to get a little bit of love. So it's nice to see a few more Reaver heads. There's also a new Plasma Bombard, which they've dropped, which is a carapace weapon for the Warbringer. And that also includes its own turntable as well, which is good. So if you've obviously got a Warbringer kit, they only have the one turntable. And if you want to keep, if you want to have different weapons, you're like, well, I don't have a turntable. So you will be able to take that off, assuming you haven't glued it, and put the Plasma Bombard in as well. They are also releasing it's like a Thunderhawk liftoff effect, which is like a base for a Thunderhawk where like loads of smoke is kind of coming down from the bottom of it. But the thing everyone's talking about is there has been some fairly heavy hints dropped recently that it's been one of the worst kept secrets that Battle Blink have been working on a new Bane Lord. I'm going to try and get you one of those. I'm going to speak to Johnny.
Please.
We need a new. What was the name of the Vulpa one?
Nuncio Dolores.
Yes, there you go. Nuncio Dolores. You need one, don't you?
I would slave over that mini, making that look so damn good.
All right, I'll have a word. And if he sends us the third one and not the second, we're going to have a falling out. Me and Johnny.
Yeah. No, I mean it's coming to me though, so they'll clearly send the first print.
I hope so, because
right?
I've still not forgiven him for giving Chris at Tabletop Standards the second ever War Breaker and me the third.
Yikes! I'm packing some trauma here.
Yeah.
But yes, I am so excited.
Yeah.
And I want it.
Yeah, it's going to be very cool. It's something that a lot of people have kind of asked for over the years, and if what we've seen so far is anything to go by, I think it's going to be a very special model. So yeah, no date on that yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we hear more. On to Troublemaker Games. The big news for them is that their City Streets kit is dropping imminently. So it might even be by the time this episode has dropped, you'll be able to get your City Streets sections to build your own custom board. Ben at Troublemaker Games is sending us our own 5 by 4 foot board. So we're going to have a look at those in detail, and I'm sure we'll give you our opinions on them as soon as we can. It's, again, great to have options when it comes to boards and tables, and I'm really interested to see kind of how this looks for games of Legions Imperialis. So, yeah, looking forward to that. On the subject of more terrain, Rock Minis, they have constantly getting new streams of new what's the word I'm looking for?
STLs?
STLs, and getting
Designs.
the license. So Rock Minis basically are the printer services for terrain. They get a lot of licenses. You can get a lot of Grimdark printed through Rock Minis, but he also gets STLs for all sorts of games, including Warhammer Fantasy, Mordheim 80, Legions Imperialis, 40k. He does some amazing kind of 15 mil and 10 mil like scaled down versions of games as well. So he's got like a scaled down Lord of the Rings. He does a bit of like War Master scale stuff, which is great as well. But the latest news for Rock Minis is that we're getting more AT terrain through them. We're going to be getting the Vertex Tertius Hive Crossroads set, which is a series of quite high bridges and archways which connect to like towers. If you can imagine that the towers are kind of hollow, so that's like the road which leads up to bridges. And they're tall enough that Reavers and Titans can walk under them. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see that, because we experimented a little bit with height, didn't we, with some of those raised city sections, and it was really fun to do that. But we've never kind of taken it to that level of height.
I think if you want really sick,
if you can build like it's the sort of thing that you really want. Ooh, repeating on me, it's the sort of thing that you really want if you want to build like a really dense board. I forget which Siege of Terror book it was. It's one that's Dawn kind of stood on a wall.
The first wall.
Is it the first wall? And then you can see in the background there's like an archway in the background with like a road. I think it feels very much like that, connecting different parts of buildings together. If you want to make a really sort of unique themed board, I think that'll be great for that. It'll be really interesting to see. I might see if we can pick up some of those ourselves at some point. Not like I need more terrain. Really? Do I need more terrain?
I mean, that would look very sick as a ruined, overgrown jungle terrain for my jungle terrain board. Hint, hint.
It would. It would. Yeah. So once again, thank you to all of our sponsors for, again, helping keeping the show going. The last part of the show today, we thought we would just, as this is a bit more of a casual birthday episode, going to kind of go back to the podcast of old Kickback and generally kind of chill. I should have got drunk. Yeah. Yeah. Instead, I'm drinking my...
Not sponsored.
I'm covering up the logo now.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. They got to pay us to, have the armor.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Refreshing. Yeah.
Delicious. Yours for $79.99 a month.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, like it's obviously been a busy start to the year for us today. And although there's not been much more big of a gap than there has previously, it's still been a month since the last podcast. It's not been that long if you are a Patreon can't get my words out tonight. Not been that long if you're a patron of ours, because you also get additional content in the form of the news sphere, which drops usually about 2 weeks after the main podcast, and that is available for anybody who supports us at the £3 tier or higher. But yeah, we've done quite a bit of hobby like over the last few months. I think for me, I've had to. It's been a good outlet for me to kind of like push myself to do things which I hadn't done for a while, because I was in a bit of a hobby funk for a long time, and my backlog was growing and I wasn't getting through any of it. So I ended up playing quite a bit of Kill Team, which is quite nice. Something to just kind of scratch that 40k itch without committing to the expenses of a 40k
army.
Yeah, and I've not done anything other than Legions Imperialis and Adeptus Titanicus for the best part of 4 years. It's crazy. Like, I've only really played and painted 8mm for a long time, so I needed to kind of freshen things up a little bit, and I've been doing a little bit of that. It's been nice to kind of, relearn how to paint without an airbrush because I'm so used to painting with an airbrush. But one of the main reasons that we were getting into Kill Team was as part of our Beachhead event that we do every year. Me and some of my friends use it as an opportunity to get an Airbnb and get together and sort of just spend a few days after Beachhead just playing hobby, just kind of chilling out and pretending like we don't have adult commitments to kind of deal with anymore for a few days at least. My God, the diet that I had over that weekend, Jesus Christ.
Grim.
We had like chicken takeaway on the Friday. Then Saturday was Beachhead, and we had I had a Five Guys.
You mainlined Five Guys for 2 days straight.
Five Guys for lunch. Then in the evening we had Domino's.
Dirty bugger.
And then Sunday I had another Five Guys. The thing was, though, Five Guys was cheaper than eating at the Bic.
10 whole guys over the weekend.
Significantly better. I had 10 guys over the weekend in 2 sittings. But by the end of Beachhead, I was just craving vegetables like nothing else. I think I went home and had a chicken cuppa soup for my tea at the end of Beachhead. But after that, we kind of all got together, and one of the things we did say, we're like, right, we're gonna paint up a Kill Team. We're gonna play some Kill Team. I painted up a couple of Kill Teams and then proceeded to play no games of Kill Team while they were down. But I also painted up some Blood Bowl teams and kind of found like a bit of a refound my love for Blood Bowl, which was quite good. Played a couple of games of that. I've been talking a lot to Ben at the Bonehead podcast as well recently, who runs the it's a Blood Bowl based podcast. Really good podcast. If you're into Blood Bowl, you should go check it out. And yeah, I ended up playing more games of Blood Bowl than I did anything else. I took my Titans down. Nobody wanted to play Titans with me after a weekend of playing nothing but Titans.
Unsurprising there.
One of the highlights for me of Beachhead, though, was being able to present Johnny Core with a trophy of a turd on a cushion. So
that he provided.
Yeah. So Battlebling provided all of the trophies, and they were amazing. Like the best trophies we've ever had. And so one of them, he was like, I'm not sure if you'll use this. I originally bought it maybe thinking of Wooden Spoon, but probably not. We're not going to do that. I like find some other reason to give it to somebody, and it's literally a golden turd on a pillow. And he had already put a thing on the front of it which said worst dice rolls ever. And we're like, how on earth do you track worst dice rolls? And we decided that we go, okay, well, we've got Titan Slayer, which is the person who kills the most Titans. let's give this to the person who lost the most Titans over the weekend. The person who arguably did the worst and lost the most Titans over the course of the weekend. Now, Johnny Core had taken 9 Warhounds in his list.
Yeah.
To a Warlord heavy meta. And he lost something like 35 Titans over 5 games.
Goddamn Warhounds lost over the weekend.
So yeah, like being able to present Johnny with an award for losing the most was perfect. It was great. On one hand,
the stars aligned perfectly for that.
He got to watch me accept my award.
Oh, here we go again.
And then I got to give him a turd on a cushion. So it was great. Yeah, that's the kind of friendship that we have between us. But yeah, one of the highlights for me was it was the first time I'd ever experienced playing under yourself as a games master in a roleplay session.
Yeah, that was an experience, wasn't it? In true Call of Cthulhu fashion, everyone died apart from you, seemingly, which apparently is a trend in your Call of Cthulhu games of the past.
Either I get everybody else killed, or I cause the end of the world. It's usually one of the two.
And I think you managed to tick both of those off in this one.
But yeah, that was really great. We had a Call of Cthulhu session going on in one room as a one-shot roleplay session, and then we had Johnny Core running a one-shot Aliens roleplay game for the other guys. I'd played that particular Aliens campaign one-shot that Johnny ran with him previously. A lot of fun. So it was nice for me to do something else while other people who hadn't played that campaign got to play that with him. But yes, Cthulhu's great. I love role-playing in general. I just don't get a lot of time to do it anymore. And it kind of got us thinking, didn't it? And like we wanted to kind of scratch this roleplay itch a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we I think it's something we've been kind of playing around with the idea with for a while. And after that weekend, it was like, right, let's do it. So soon, at an indeterminate time, we may be looking at recording just a one shot, nothing too big or crazy, set in the universe of the Horus Heresy, following a group of Moderati and Princeps, and following their attempts at survival after their Titan attempts, after their Titan gets blown up. So really looking forward to that. That would be a really fun one. Just it's not going to be a regular content thing. Just a fun little one-off we thought we would do. And we probably
say one-off. We'll probably split it up, won't we? Because it's probably going to be too long for one video. But
we'll probably split it into a couple of episodes, just so we don't have like a 4-hour, 5-hour thing just uploaded all at once. But yeah, it's just a little thing that I think we were probably going to do anyway without recording it, just as because we're nerds and we like tabletop RPGs. But we thought, why not stick the cameras on and record us all playing it and just upload it as a kind of like a little bonus thing for the channel.
And we've spoken to Johnny and John from Battle Bling are going to participate in that as well, and our friend Matt, who he's always been my main GM when I played in the past. Like he big Cthulhu fan. I think he really appreciated having the opportunity to play Cthulhu for once under you, rather than having to ref it all the time. But yeah, he's also part of our events crew. So good to get I think Matt's one of the few people in the team that's never actually had any FaceTime on the channel, because Oliver's been on and George has been on. Matt
works in the shadows.
Yeah, I think he probably prefers it that way.
Integral part of Maximal Fire. If you've been to any of our events, he's usually there as well. So yeah, it's gonna be real good fun. And everyone's super experienced with RPGs, so hopefully it will be nice and just smooth and a good time, a good show. Yeah, we're gonna be using Mothership as the kind of like the core.
I don't think I know anything about that system.
It's just like a rules light, like space survival horror-y game. So kind of competes in the same spot that the Alien RPG does, but opens up to non-Alien franchise horrors and stuff like that. But we can tailor a couple of the classes to to stuff suiting the setting a little bit more, and see how you guys get on. From experience, it is a very lethal system, so this 5-hour projected one shot might be a 1 hour total party kill. But that's
especially if you give me an option of kind of siding with some kind of god or not.
Yeah,
then that could be over very quickly.
Very quickly. So I'll make sure not to do that too early on for you, at least.
I think we were talking, weren't we? Like you'd have a Princeps and Moderati, Tech Priest, maybe another Moderati or something, or maybe some kind of Skitari style character. I think it'll be fun. It'll be a bit of an experiment, especially doing I feel like role playing is such a private thing in some respects. Yeah. And then sort of airing it out to everybody is a bit nerve-wracking, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
It's absolutely terrifying, but I think it's going to be sick. It's going to be a really cool setting to do, and I said, you guys are all super experienced, so it makes life as a warden, the GM is called in this game, a lot easier. Yeah,
it'll be good fun. I guess hobby-wise, we're also participating in some. We're taking a big departure, aren't we, from this setting over the next few weeks, and we'll be actually focusing on a little bit of old worlds for a couple of months. Not that this content of Maximal Fire will change; it's just for our painting, focusing on that. I'm going back to 2004, where I used to work for GW and painting up the army that I never got to finish at the time, which is quite nice, with some Chaos Warriors. And your decision was made for you. Your decision was made for you.
I was dragged kicking and screaming into the old world. I feel like I've been a passenger on this journey so far, because I was at Beachhead, and obviously at Beachhead, when you're a TO, there's a lot of downtime behind the desk, right? And Matt, who we mentioned earlier, suggested that I joined or maybe it was Oliver, suggested I join the Old World group on WhatsApp, and that suddenly turned into me also in Tale of Painters, and then you messaged me a week later being like, oh, there's a really cheap Tomb Kings box here, and now suddenly I have fucking 80 skeletons to paint after swearing never to buy a Horde army ever again after owning Tyranids for 16 odd years, So
at least they'll be quick to do. I mean, we're talking early skeletons as well, aren't we?
Yeah, they're so goofy, but there's a little charm in there. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, isn't it? That's something different to Titans and Space Marines and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's it is odd being back painting 28mm again. And although I'm not doing a Horde army, there seems to be a lot of I'm doing a Marauder army. I don't know why I decided to do that. I should have stuck with Chaos Warriors. It'd be a lot less to paint. But yeah, so using some Dark Oath as Marauders, because again, I think that the Old World's Marauders are a bit derpy looking. But
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be my hobby for the next couple of months. Trying to get through my plastic shame, piles of shame, really. But yeah, next episode will be the Legions ranked episode. So as I said earlier on, this will be based purely on the books and the rules. Purely based on the book purely based on the rules in the rule book. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll do it like we did before. So I'll take a look at the rules on their own, and Johnny will be diving into some loyalist lore. Push you outside of your comfort zone there, Johnny, as you are traitor fanboy that you are.
Yeah. No, it's fine. The books have descriptions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much again, guys, for joining us on this rambly ride, rather chaotic ride that we've had today. I've got to go find my wedding ring now before the wife gets home.
I feel like this is a extended Patreon chat, but on a main episode.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to kind of like, if you like the more kind of casual, laid back podcast, this is exactly the format of the new sphere that we do. We try and keep most of our YouTube content to be on certain themes, whereas the new sphere is all about our patrons, the questions that they have on their minds, generally what we're doing hobby-wise, and a bit more of a relaxed chat because we're not governed by being demonetized by YouTube.
It's not that bad. You're like,
it's not that bad.
We're not saying real crazy shit. Just
no,
we can be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, if we want to get drunk on an episode, it's the new sphere that's where we do it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, if you have enjoyed today, please do remember to drop us a like and a subscribe. We want to be pushing up to the 3,000 sort of by the summer would be great, certainly by the end of the year. And if you do want to support us a little bit more directly, then you can jump onto Patreon, where you can support us from as little as £1. But if you do want to have those New Sphere episodes, it would be £3 a month, which is less than the price of a cup of coffee these days. So there's loads of stuff on there already as well. You can go back and watch from previous New Sphere episodes. So it really is good value for money, if I do say so myself. So
good advertising.
Yeah. It's great. Oh, you know what is on there though, and what will probably be on there will be, well, there is the Warbreaker bat rep as well. When I was up there with Tabletop Standard, and I would imagine it will probably be your Spiderbot episode will end up going as on the Patreon as well, rather than general release.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what we do with Chris as a little bit of a collab. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So thanks a lot again, guys, and we'll see you again next time. And always remember to go big, go loud, and
go Maximal.